It's Friday, January 3rd, 2020, and this is episode 11 of Filmcultpodcast. I am your host, Chris, and this week, as in every week, we are reviewing and discussing 3 different movies. And thank you so much for joining me today. This is the first episode of 2020, so I wasn't sure if I was going to jump right back into doing the show, if I was going to take a break, but I have seen some quality films and I wanted to share them with you guys. So here we are. I actually got the chance to see some new movies and I wanted to review them. So here we are. And I also wanted to mention that there was a lot of movies that are probably reaching their theatrical release this year or in the next few weeks. Some movies that I wanted to see that I've been trying to get to go see. I've been trying to go to see Knives Out, the new Rian Johnson film, since it came out over a month ago on Thanksgiving. And after trying to go see it again for like the third time, something comes up every single time and I was not able to go see it. This choice was on my own this time. It just turned out to be, I thought I had a discount, my rewards at a certain theater, and I went to go use it, and they were like, oh no, we don't allow to do ticket discounts anymore. And I was very confused because I've been to other theaters of the same, it's AMC, for anyone who's wondering, and they were like, yeah, we only do discounts on concessions, not on tickets. And I'm like, I know that to not be true. I've done ticket discounts with my reward points several times, but there was no use in arguing with this low-level employee. Not to like point any fingers or anything, but I digress. I did not get to see Knives Out. I did not get to see Uncut Gems, another movie I've been trying to get to the theater to see. I've been hearing a lot of good praise and just mixed reviews actually about that movie, but I really am interested in seeing it. Of course, another A24 picture for me. I've been more or less fanboying them since episode 1 of this show. Richard Jewell is also out. I've discussed this on the show. Clint Eastwood's newest picture, more of a biopic, I guess, of Richard Jewell and the Olympic bombing that happened in 80 something. I previously discussed going to see that on the show, and I have not as well. And I'm trying to think of some other movies that are also out. Knives Out, Uncut Gems, Richard Jewell. There's something else maybe in that list of release, but there's some really good solid movies out that probably will not be in the theater for much longer, and I'm trying to go see them. I don't know if I will be able to, but that is that. So, without more hesitation or further tangents, I will be going into my first review. I have a 2013 movie first, and then I have the new Star Wars movie that I'm looking at. I got to see that last week, so I will be giving my review on that. I figured with something as indecisive in that regard, people either loving this movie or they're hating this movie. It is the 9th and final Star Wars entry, so I figured it's definitely worth reviewing. So there's that. And then the third one is also a 2019 new release. This is Parasite. I do not know much about this movie. All I know is that I've been seeing it on every single person. I recently joined a bunch of fan pages on Facebook, movie fan pages, whatnot, kind of that deal. And everyone's been releasing, of course, their films of the decade. And sorry if you can hear those cars passing by my house, my window open. Anyway, everyone's been releasing their films of the decade. These are my favorite top 10 movies of the 2010s. This is my favorite films of all time, whatever. And I've been seeing Parasite on literally every single person's list, which is nothing short of like a phenomenon, really. So I gotta see this movie. So at this current moment of recording this, I used to pre-record these, and I have a couple ready. But ever since the new year, I have spent up my last 10 podcasts, so now we're recording the day of again. So hopefully I'll get back into the swing of things, start recording things, multiple shows in a day. That way I can edit them, I can have them pre-edited and ready to be released on every Friday as it's been going. But enough of just talking. Here is my review of the 2013 movie by a director. I'm going to butcher his French name, but I do know a lot of his movies. Denis Villeneuve. That's as good as it's gonna get. And this is his 2013 film, Prisoners, starring Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Viola Davis is in this picture. Paul Dano plays a beautiful part in this picture. Terrence Howard, Melissa Leo, among others. This movie is one of my favorite pictures by this director. Like I said, I cannot say his name for the life of me. We're just going to go with, it's like Denis Villeneuve. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, he is the director of several successful films. I know he directed Sicario. I know he directed Arrival. I'm going to quickly pull up his IMDb so I can tell you more. He directed the new Blade Runner film that came out, Blade Runner 2049, with Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. He's the director of the 2010 film Incendies, which I've never seen, but it's been an Academy Award nominee and all this jazz. He's a very accomplished contemporary director. He also directed Enemy, which I don't think I've reviewed on this channel, but I've definitely seen that movie. That's another Jake Gyllenhaal starring film. But back to Prisoners. This film is absolutely a thrill ride, and it's really, really intense. And I've only said this about one other film that I've reviewed on the show, but this definitely enters my top of all time list. The Game is somewhere on that list. I know I mentioned that I was going to make a definitive greatest movies of all time that I could look through, which I haven't yet, but The Game is on there, and this film is on there as well. This movie I've seen several times, but I wanted to watch it again, so I did. And yeah, this film is a mystery. It's a drama. There's intense moments in this film, and just really, really solid acting all around. It's Jake Gyllenhaal barely disappoints in movies, and this is no exception. His character is so strong and so well thought out. There's so much about his character that we don't necessarily get to develop in the movie, but there's like just pre-existing characteristics of his character, I guess. I'm trying to find the best way to form. But he wears a Freemason ring on his pinky. He has all these symbolic tattoos that we don't get to hear about in the film. It's not necessarily about him, but there's just so much built into his character that you really appreciate the fact that they went through and did that. The sets, I don't want to give anything of the plot away, but like I said, Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing in this film. Hugh Jackman is incredible in this film, in an emotional, character-driven standpoint. His acting is fantastic. Paul Dano has an extremely hard role to play in this, but he does it very, very well. He is playing a person who has the IQ of a 10-year-old, and he is, whether or not prove it or not, you would have to see the film, but he is suspected of kidnapping Hugh Jackman's child, and Terrence Howard is also in this film. I forgot to mention his name in the beginning. Terrence Howard and Hugh Jackman are friends. Their families get together one night. They walk through the neighborhood to get to Terrence Howard's house, Hugh Jackman's family, and their two little girls walk back to look for something, and they are never seen again. So they are suspected to be kidnapped, and the older siblings, one of them played by Dylan Minnette, the other one played by Kyla Drew, They say that they saw a camper parked in a vacant household and that the children were playing on it before they disappeared. So that's basically the start of this movie. It doesn't kind of, it pretty much goes right into it. We get a little bit of setup of each of the family. The head of the household being Hugh Jackman at the one family, turns out Howard being the father at the other family. And so we kind of get this relationship between those two families, and then we're just right into this kidnapping. So Terrence Howard's child and Hugh Jackman's child, both little girls, have been kidnapped, and Jake Gyllenhaal is the detective that is on the case. And from there, we find out a lot of different things, but one of the standout points that I just want to mention, don't want to give the plot away. I highly, highly recommend this film. It is hard to watch at points, but it is definitely worth it. The story is just phenomenal. How it unfolds and how they are able to give all these different, I just want to say, like, connectors, and for you to connect the dots to who committed these kidnappings, it's just incredible. It feels like you're solving a actual missing persons investigation with Jake Gyllenhaal as this movie goes through. You kind of see different pieces of the puzzle, and it kind of has you leading, oh, this is the perpetrator. Oh, no, this guy's the perpetrator. And you kind of just are able to figure it out a little bit before the actual characters in the movie. And I think that's a really, really good technique to use, that you are knowing more than the people in the story, because it kind of gives you that sense of dread and intensity like I'm talking about. But without saying any more, I do not want to give away the plot points of this movie. It is just really, really, really intriguing, really good. I'm seeing the more like this category, and these are all films that I really, really appreciate as well. Gone Girl, I could see the similarity to this movie a little bit, it being a mystery thriller type. That is definitely my preferred genre. I love all movies, but a drama, mystery, thriller, those are definitely three categories that I will go to as far as movies are concerned. But I see Gone Girl on here, I see Nightcrawler, another Jake Gyllenhaal movie that I really, really enjoy. Shutter Island is on this list. Awesome film starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark Ruffalo. Zodiac. Again, we have Jake Gyllenhaal. We have, I believe that's David Fincher as well, who directed Gone Girl and Zodiac. An amazing, amazing director at telling mystery thriller type stories. So all of those definitely do fit in that more like this category of the movie. But like I said, I highly, highly recommend this film. I do not want to give anything else away. It's just a lot about the desperation that comes in when your child is kidnapped, and how you are willing to maybe do some hateful and violent things to save the person you love, whether that be your child or someone who is taken from you. So it's a very, very deep, emotional film, and it takes you on a thrill ride for sure. So I am highly recommending the 2013 picture Prisoners. So that is my first review of today. We are going to jump right into our second review, going into the current 2019, just past season of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So this was directed by the person who directed the first of the trilogy, J.J. Abrams. It, of course, stars Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Anthony Daniels, just to name a few. I feel like those names have become household names by now because of the popularity of Star Wars. This movie, after everything that happened with Last Jedi, I'm not sure where people land. Some people are really big fans of Star Wars, some people aren't. I lay somewhere in between those. I'm not a huge, huge, huge fan, but I know enough. I've seen now all 9 Star Wars films of the saga, the Skywalker saga, as they say, and I enjoyed this film. I think I pretty much concur with a lot of what people are saying as far as it being very, very fast paced. I feel like after initially just walking out of the film, I was like, yeah, that was pretty good, and I enjoyed it. And I saw a lot of hate online about it, and I was really like, I don't understand why this is being bashed on so much. But now I kind of, after letting it sit with me for a couple days, I realized that, yeah, this film is, hopefully I'm not stealing this from another review, but it's definitely sprinting to the finish. We have so many open ends here that they're trying to close. This is being the last movie of the Skywalker saga. So we have a lot of open ends that we need to close in order for this story to end. And so J.J. Abrams had more than enough on his plate for that. And so where Force Awakens, the first of the trilogy, kind of mimicked or mirrored episode 4, I want to say, this kind of mimics episode 6, Return of the Jedi, I believe. I'm sorry, like I said, I'm not really the biggest fan in the world, but I do know enough to understand these stories and to understand the plot of this final film. I think they did a good job of working with what they had and trying to stray away from more or less what was the most disliked movie, which is The Last Jedi, which was Rian Johnson's entry into this new trilogy. I feel like they took a lot of notes from how people felt about that film, and I agree on that movie. I really don't like The Last Jedi being sandwiched between Force Awakens and this film. It just seems like it was a weird decision now in retrospect to leave it off to Rian Johnson and then to have J.J. Abrams return to do the third film. So he did 1 and 3, and there's just a random director in the middle. It seemed like if they knew how things were going to pan out, I think J.J. Abrams would have probably just directed this whole entire trilogy, which makes more sense to me. But I digress. This movie's good. Do I give it my recommendation? I feel like it's a little crowded in points, but obviously if you've seen all other 8 films, you're going to go see this. It's more or less I've seen a lot of people who are big fans are saying more or less of an obligation to go see it because it is the final one, the final chapter, blah, blah, blah. And I do think they do the best that they can do with this story. And I need to close that window because I know this is being picked up from the audio. Anyway, so do I recommend this film? I am on the fence. I would say maybe. If you're a Star Wars fan, definitely go see it. Decide for yourself. Do not let the reviews sway you in any which way. I do not think this is a bad movie. I do not agree with any of those 0 or 1 star reviews that I've been seeing on IMDb. People, I think, are overthinking things a lot, and I think they are projecting more of what they want to see on the story. And yeah, I'm seeing a very low review right here called The Force is Forced. I don't agree with the fact that just because it isn't what you exactly thought in your head would be episode 9, that it isn't a good film. It still holds up. They still concluded a 3-chapter story, a 3-film story, and did what they could do. But were they racing to the finish? Yes. This film is packing so much. I felt like right out of the gate, they're definitely taking a lot of course, with Disney being owners of not only the MCU, but of Star Wars, I feel like they took a lot of beats from the MCU in order to consolidate and create a final good third film. And I say that because not only the ending felt very endgame-ish to me, but just the beginning also as well. They kind of just throw you in from the previous two movies, of course. They have a lot to get to, so they kind of just throws you right in. And of course, I'm not spoiling this by saying that Palpatine is in this movie. He's on the theatrical poster, so I'm not giving anything away by saying that. But yes, there's a scene with Palpatine and Kylo Ren, and we find out that Snoke was created by him. Big spoiler there. Obviously, if you're watching this review, I feel like you were expecting spoilers anyway, but maybe I'll put a little disclaimer ahead, because I guess that is, he created Snoke and all this stuff, and it's just like a lot right at the beginning, but I feel like it does level out a little bit from there. And me personally, yes, I am recommending this movie. Go see episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, conclude this story, and we can all get back to watching the next season of The Mandalorian, because I feel like that's doing a better job of slowing down and pacing out a story, and it doesn't have all that weight of being the Skywalker saga, and I am enjoying The Mandalorian a lot. But that is a TV show. This is for movies. The show is for movies. So that is my second review of the 2019 film Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So, 2 films down, 1 to go, and we are almost through episode 11 now. So I just wanted to briefly mention that I have a video essay that I've been working on since a little bit after Christmas. It is still not out. I wanted to have it out before this episode, but it did not happen. I am taking my time with it, making it the best as possible, so that should be out soon. I also recorded a video game review, but I'm not sure if I'm going to release that at all. I've been playing the PS4 game Death Stranding. I made the decision to buy it off of Redbox, and I'm not really sure how I feel about it, and this isn't really a game review channel, so maybe I'm just going to scrap that completely, but don't be surprised if something like that pops up as well. So I just wanted to quickly plug my other endeavors other than this podcast. But on to the third and final film. I have not watched this yet. I'm literally going to sit down and watch it right now, pause the microphone, watch this film, and give you a review. Like I mentioned earlier, it is the 2019 drama mystery film Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho, who also wrote in the screenplay and co-wrote the story itself. This film, like I mentioned, has been on so many people's top 10 lists. I believe this was on President Barack Obama's top 10 list. It was just on a bunch of other people that I've seen in this film fan website page that I've been following. Everyone's posting their top 10 lists, and this is just one that is not listed on a lot of lists. I see this everywhere, so it's definitely caught my interest. I know absolutely nothing about this film, and so I'm going to watch it right now. So please keep listening for my review, which will be in a few seconds. So see you guys in a few seconds. So just to quickly reintroduce, I am reviewing the 2019 film Parasite, written by Bong Joon-ho. The cast, whose names I am all going to say incorrectly, but I'm going to say them anyway, because I always say it for every single movie, so to exclude this one would be just unfair. Kang Ho-sung, Sung Kyun Lee, Yeo Jeong-jo, Wook-sik Choi are some of the main cast of this film. So if you can't tell already, this film was made in Korea, I believe, North Korea, and it is by, like I mentioned, Bong Joon-ho, who you may know from movies. He directed the Netflix movie Okja, which also, we're on a Jake Gyllenhaal run today. He also directed Snowpiercer, which came out in 2013. That's another very, very good film. And this movie, I understand all the hype now. I really, 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 really enjoyed this one. I gotta say, I didn't think I was going into it, but as the story progressed and I sort of started to figure out what the movie was going to be about, I found myself enjoying it a lot. And it definitely is a movie that has you on the edge of your seat for most of it. There's a lot of close calls and like kind of things of that nature, without me going into spoilers too much about this movie. The acting is superb. I have no problem reading subtitles for a whole film if it is of this quality. He's from South Korea, Bong Joon-ho, so maybe it is a South Korean movie. I didn't pick up on whether it was North or South, but like I said, the acting in this is really, really good. The story is really, really good. There's some dark humor kind of thing, but mostly it is quite serious. Without giving anything away, it's just a very tightly woven story, and it works very, very well. And I see the mass appeal. I don't see why somebody wouldn't like this, is what I was trying to get at. So, Parasite is fantastic, and does it deserve all these top 10 lists? Right now, I'm pretty enamored with it. I would have to see it again. I feel like something that just came out so recently, you gotta give it time to digest. But to see it on everybody's top 2019 lists, that I do understand. Top of all time, I would have to watch this film a couple more times to get that sort of credit to it. But it was a very good film. Like I said, that the language barrier and the fact that it was made in South Korea or North Korea or somewhere else in Asia it breaks all barriers of that type of thing. I know a lot of people who might be turned off by the idea of reading a whole movie because you're going to have to read subtitles, but it does not get in the way of a fantastic story like this one. And like I said, it keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time. You're trying to figure out how this is going to all come down towards the third act. And when it does, I was not expecting what indeed happened. So there's still cars going on my street. Usually never, but the fact that I'm recording now, there's all these cars going down my road again. But yes, I had the pleasure of just watching this film, just finishing it, and I enjoyed it very, very much. So that concludes episode 11 of Film Cult Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's reviews. I hope you will join me next week for 3 more reviews of 3 more movies. I am Chris. You can, as always, like, comment, subscribe to this channel. Every single Friday, we will have a show where I review 3 different movies. I'm going to try to hit some more older ones, not just go for all these current releases on DVD or whatnot. I do have interest in seeing, the current, most recent releases, but I do want to explore some old classics and other cult movies of that genre, hence the name. So, if you are interested in messaging me for any sort of reason, please do. I am available at filmcultpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that's filmcultpodcast@gmail.com. I will see you guys all next week, and have a fantastic weekend, and see you in episode 12. Goodbye.